Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening, and you've reached Black Authors Matter TV, and I'm your host, Gwen Richardson. My co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, will be joining us shortly. We are anticipating the arrival of this year's National Black Book Festival, and it's this weekend, and we're very, very excited about it coming up. And in that regard, we have a couple of videos we're going to be showing you from authors who will be there or who support the event. So we're showing you 2 videos before our first interview. Here they are.
Hello and welcome. My name is Michael Wynn, Coach Wynn from Detroit, Michigan, and I am honored to be a part of the 2023 National Black Book Festival. That's right, in Houston, Texas. I'll be there October the 26th to the 28th, and of course is open to the public on the 27th and 28th. I'll have my second book, my best-selling book called The Habit Effect, Your Life, Your Money, on display. And I will also be doing a seminar called The Financial Habits That Authors Should Be Aware of. I want to tell you, I'm hurt by this crisis that we have with financial literacy. Americans are only 57% financially literate. What does that mean? That means that the average person, because we're below 60%, have some struggles with financial literacy. And it's even worse for people of color. We have to eradicate that problem. And in my book, The Habit Effect, I talk about how to understand the values of habits when it comes to savings, when it comes to debt management, credit management, investment goals, generational wealth, and just building a foundation. Yeah, the book starts out talking to high school students, college students, business owners and business owner staff, just in general what they need to know, because the average state out of these 50 states don't have laws in place. Here in Michigan, we just adopted a law that in order to graduate from high school, you had to have personal finance. So we have to grow together. As well, during this beautiful festival that's in line, on Saturday, the 28th, in room CY 112, I'll be doing my seminar, The Habits, Financial Habits That Authors Should Be Aware of, and talk about the business side. Value in understanding financial stability, understanding business growth, building a money plan, building a money plan and business plan, picking the right business structure, understanding the separation of business and personal, protecting your intellectual properties. Yeah, that's right. From penalties, from fraud, from money grabbers. We have an important role to play as authors because we're running our business to survive and to help others. So in this short period of time, I want to give you the right tools, the financial tools, and I know we're going to have good conversation. So I look forward to seeing y'all here in Houston, or there in Houston, on October the 27th and 28th. This is Coach Mike Wynn from Detroit. See you later.
We are the only people in America who have to protect ourselves from our protectors. Stokely Carmichael.
They don't want you to read this book.
When Shepherds Kill, a controversial whodunit based on the actual, unresolved murder of a Chicago alderman. When Shepherds Kill looks at the various pressures impacting African people across the world. Drugs, murders, corruption, and a failure of leaders to be good shepherds to their people. David Strong, the protagonist, confronts his inner conflicts and suffers torture as he struggles to find the truth about this murder. When Shepherds Kill, but it now, and enjoy yourself with every turn of the page.
Okay, well, we are back, and so is my co-host, and we welcome her to the show.
Hello,
She is getting ready for her big trip to Houston, and I'll be able to see her in person. I haven't seen you in person since last year this time.
I know, right? It's been so long.
It has. So we are about to bring on our first guest, and her name is Kidada Williams, and she is a professor, history professor and author. Her latest book is called I Saw Death Coming, and the subhead is A History of Terror and Survival in the War Against Reconstruction. So, Professor, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Can you hear us?
I don't think she can hear us.
Can you hear us, Professor Williams?
She just sent a note saying, should I be able to hear?
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, because I didn't see that. I was looking at her. Yes, definitely. Well,
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
We can hear you. Can you hear us? No?
I don't think she can hear us.
That's
And
curious.
it must be something on her side, though, I think.
It has to be. I'm not sure what the fix would be if they can't hear us. I want to say, can you log out and log back in? That might be it.
She's about to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, we are very excited about this weekend coming up. It's coming as a couple of days. We kick it off with the reception that Thursday night, and then it's on for Friday and Saturday. We're looking forward to it being a great event.
Oh, it's going to be great.
It's going to be wonderful. We have one book to give away, but we're going to do that in the second half of the show, since we have the two videos we're showing before and after the first interview. So now, okay, Dr. Williams, can you hear me? You can't hear me. Is your volume on your device up? Like on your device, there's volume. There's a volume.
See, sometimes when I have trouble hearing, it's because I accidentally muted the computer and I didn't realize. But she's saying that's not the case.
So where your sound is it at 100% or close to it? On the right, the little headphone, the microphone, the sound button on the bottom right.
She says she's going to test her mic.
Okay, she's going to test her mic. Okay, well, since she's going to do that, that'll take her a minute. And so I want to announce that the book we're giving away tonight is my brand new book, Exodus from Treachery. It is on Amazon. It was released officially last Tuesday, and I already have 3 5-star reviews. So you all who got the early copies, you all have read your books and posted, and the reviews they're posting are very detailed. They're very, very good. So I'm not going to say what the trivia question is yet. We'll deal with that later, but I'm very excited about this book. And also the previous book, I got the cover redone for the Genesis Files. So it's a companion book. They really match each other now. So I'm gonna have them at the festival. So if you come to the festival, you get a signed copy. And this is actually an autographed copy. So I already autographed it. And so when we do the trivia, we will, and she said she was gonna test her mic. So let's see Let's try to see if we can get Dr. Williams' sound. And in the meantime, someone asked if she was using her ear pod. Okay, you can hear us now. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Now, can we
No,
hear
now we
you?
can't hear you.
Wait, you can't hear me?
Yeah, now we
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
You know, that's uncommon for somebody not to be able to hear us.
Yeah.
It's normally on the other end. But welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me. Sorry about the inconvenience and
Oh,
craziness.
it
I
is
really
okay.
appreciate it.
These things happen. It's,
Mhm.
you know, it's live, it's technology. This is what happens.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we're
yeah.
glad to have you. So thank you for being here tonight.
I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, now your book is called I Saw Death Coming, and it's a history of terror and survival in the war against Reconstruction. And I know you're a history professor, but just give us a little background on what aspects of history you focus on, because normally when someone gets a doctorate, they zero in on something. It's narrow. The doctorate is on a narrow topic.
Yeah.
So what is your major focus when you did your doctoral work, and what do you teach at you're at Wayne
State
Wayne State? Okay.
in Detroit.
All right,
Nice,
Wayne State,
nice.
Detroit. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Okay, yes, tell us about your background with the history and what you focus on.
So I specialize in African American history broadly. A lot of it 19th century, but I've sort of done work on slavery, et cetera. I teach courses on African American history. My dissertation was on racist violence. I focus on lynching for the first book. It's a topic that I've been interested in since I was an undergraduate. And this current book looks at an earlier history of white terror and African Americans' experiences of it.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
well,
deep. That's a lot of layers, actually.
Yeah.
it is. And you said a mouthful, because even though it's not really talked about, or if it is, it's done in a very narrow little box. Like it happened to one or two people, like, you know, not that millions were living in terror. That's never the subject of it. So I applaud you for taking a challenging topic, and your title, I Saw Death Coming. What made you use that for your title?
Well, the title comes from one of the survivors who testified before Congress.
Mhm.
And that was a statement that he made in response to a question of essentially, how did he know, what happened to him? And what he says is that, he looks outside in his yard and he sees this pack of white men coming for him. And so he says, I saw death coming and I got out, because he knew they were coming to kill him.
Wow,
Now, what?
that's a statement that sticks
Yeah.
with you. It's really striking. And I can imagine the terror that went through his mind as he saw this crowd coming toward him.
Exactly. And the testimony, so what you should know is that African Americans transitioning from slavery to freedom experience this harrowing violence after slavery. We've been given this story that Reconstruction, or excuse me, emancipation is this universally triumphant moment. And it is. It's a wonderful moment for Black people. Absolutely wonderful moment for Black people. But it's also followed by this devastating violence.
Yes.
Right. So we've got the celebration of Juneteenth, and yes, we should celebrate the destruction of slavery, but we also need to know what came after. And that, that is the sort of that white backlash, the attacks on Black people for making the most out of freedom. And so those people who were attacked, they reported the violence that happened to them. And eventually a couple hundred of them testified before Congress. Because Congress investigated, and their congressional testimonies from 1868 in the Klan trials in South Carolina, and their testimony, their participation in the congressional hearings in 1870 and 1871, those form the basis of the sources that I use for this project. So I tell this story about Reconstruction's overthrow and abandonment from the perspective of survivors of the violence. And I use their own words to tell this story.
You know what your work reminds me of is the Whitney Plantation in Louisiana. If you've ever been there, there's a section where they interviewed all of these slaves after they were freed. And in their own words, they told their stories. So when I listened to you, my mind just automatically went back to all of those testimonials, for lack of a better term, that I was able to read from people who were enslaved at that very plantation.
Right. And those firsthand accounts are precious.
Yes.
Right? Because they tell us so much, not only about the violence, but one of the things I was able to tease out in the story is their efforts to communicate how much they had accomplished in 5 years. You know, so a lot of people start enduring violence, 1867, 1868, and then it really just sort of picks up after that. And when they testify about what happened to them, what they're clear on two things. One, how much they were losing or had lost to the violence already. And that speaks to how much they achieved, how much land they acquired, how much cattle they had, how they reconstituted their families, their jobs, the churches they built, the schools they built, their own businesses. All of their accomplishments are documented in their accounts of this violence. And what's also there is why they were attacked, because they were successful, and what they were losing to the violence and how devastating it was. The testimonies are full of that information, just like the WPA interviews with formerly enslaved people and other accounts that we have of people who endured slavery are so vibrant, and they reveal so much about them as individuals and about the beauty of Black people. These testimonies do the same thing. But they're also filled with the violence, for the WPA interviews, the violence of slavery, for the congressional testimony, the violence of emancipation.
Just thinking about it's a couple of angles. There are probably many, many angles that you could take this from. But one is that a person who thinks they might have everything they build taken away at a moment's notice may not even try to build, because that takes a tremendous amount of courage and hope to do that in the face of what could potentially happen. And it's a good chance it could happen. It's not like it's a small chance it could happen.
Right.
That's one. But also just the resilience and the hope that people had, and the courage to testify. I'm wondering, did anything happen to the people who testified? Did they may have had to leave town, or okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I want to go back to your first point and highlight the fact that not making the most of freedom was not something that people who lived through slavery were going to do. Right?
Okay.
You don't live through slavery and not reunite your families, try to get as much land as you have, land as you can, to sort of live out all of the dreams, your parents' dreams, your grandparents' dreams, your great-grandparents' dreams for you. You don't just come out of slavery and just do nothing because white people might take it away. That's not who Black people were, right? And so they have been looking at freedom. They've been thinking about freedom. They've been dreaming about freedom for all of their lives.
Yes.
And they see this as their opportunity to make the most of it. And they do that, right? And they are targeted for their success. And, none of them are expecting to be targeted any more than you're expected to be attacked in your house tonight, right? So they are living their best life.
Yeah, and initially the government was backing them
their
up.
hope. Yeah, their hope and that resilience and their belief in the possibilities of freedom. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying initially the government was backing them up in the beginning, sort of, but kind of as best you could think they would. They did have some support until they didn't,
Right. And I think that support was always contingent. It was always shaky, right?
Yes.
It wasn't as solid as it could be. I think there are people who like to let the government off the hook, and I don't. in the
no,
sense
absolutely
that,
not.
I think they could have done more. I think that doing more was within their full range of possibilities, but I understand how elected officials own racism. Their own investments in white supremacy shaped what they were willing to do. So we do get the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Black men are able to vote. We get citizenship rights. So we get all of those things. But you can only do so much with them if your rights are not enforced.
It's
Correct,
kind of
Right?
what people feel like they're going through now, which kind of brings me to my question is, as you were doing your research and writing this story, what parallels between the historical accounts and today maybe struck you most?
Well, I think there is this sort of ongoing white supremacist project. Like the parallels aren't really neat, right? And if you take like a sort of deep dive into the accounts of the violence and people's testimonies, you see how much their worlds are different from ours. And the possibilities, so we still live with the benefits of the world they created. They didn't have that.
Yeah.
They had to
right,
do it from scratch, right?
right.
So the parallels are not, they're not neat.
Right.
But I do see the ongoing reality of white supremacy, a willingness to use violence, a denial by a large percentage of the white population about the realities of what's actually going on with this violence, and Black people's ongoing commitment to liberation. So I see those parallels. Like, I recognize that then and now people who've been directly attacked, that they may not have the wherewithal to sort of go forward and fight a larger fight, but a lot of people did, and they do, because they believe in a just world, even if
I
they don't
agree
need to
with you
see it.
there. I think that's why I've always felt like we are a resilient people, because no matter how things happen or how many steps backward we wound up taking or being pushed back, we always come forward. We always try to have the best for ourselves and try to make sure that we provide the best in our own power, of course, that we can to those after us, our children and their children and so forth.
Right. Right. And that has been, I think, part of that sort of codex of survival handed down through the generations of enslaved people, about our responsibilities to ourselves, to our people, and the debts we owe. We have debts, debts to the people who lived long enough in order to survive slavery, right? And we have a responsibility to build a world that they wanted for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
one that they could never have imagined.
Exactly. They could not have imagined this.
No.
And I think that's why, but they still fought for it, right?
Yeah.
And they fought for, rights and privileges and freedoms that they didn't all get to enjoy themselves. But that's because they believed in us. They believed in our power. They believed in what we were capable of. And they believed in a just world. And so that's why they testified. It was hard for them to testify. They put themselves and their families at great risk in testifying.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
people were killed. People were killed for
Okay.
testifying. Or
Okay,
they experienced subsequent attacks for having.
right. I figured that would be the case.
Yes. Yes.
'Cause
But
a
most
lot of
people, they lose everything. They can't live in their home communities, right?
right.
A lot of people,
Right.
they can't stay.
Right. They would have to leave town. There's not as much just discussion or history or about the 100-year period between 1865 and 1965. I'll just like put it neatly in 100 years. That 100 years gets overlooked as for what occurred, and that just because slavery ended doesn't mean that we were at 1965. You see what I'm saying? that 100 years, it was still Jim Crow, and there was still,
Yeah,
not
people
equal
didn't,
protection
in
under
other
the
words,
law.
people didn't just automatically change their minds about Black people just
Right.
because the slaves were freed.
Right.
Just like I
Exactly.
don't believe, and not that I don't believe people didn't automatically change our lives with the passage of the civil rights movement.
Right.
You know, there is still going to be dangers out there. There's still going to be racism. There's still going to be feelings out there, and that's something that's probably going to be in our world for foreseeable future. I mean,
Right.
it's getting better, but it's never going to just change.
I mean, we just got to keep fighting for it, right?
I agree.
We shouldn't have to, but
we can't give up either.
Mhm.
exactly. I think the other thing I would say is this, there is actually a lot of history written between 1865 and 1965. I think part of it is that a lot of us assume that we already know this history because we know it was, quote, Jim Crow. We don't know what Black people did in and with Jim Crow. And this is the thing, like students who come to my class, that, well, I know Jim Crow, right? And then, and then I get a hold of them, and then they realize all of the things that, 1965, 1964, and 1964, they didn't just magically happen.
Right.
So part of what we have is we've lost a commitment to understanding the larger freedom struggle, right? So that's what we get from 1865 to 1965 is that struggle for freedom. And that's happening locally, it's happening nationally, it's happening, across the states. They're chipping away at Jim Crow. First of all, we got to deal with the fact that it takes them 25 years to build the Jim Crow system. That Jim Crow system doesn't just magically get installed.
Right.
They've got to build it, and they've got to build it because Black people are doing what they can to hold on to the gains of Reconstruction. Right. And so even after they get that Jim Crow system installed, Black people and their allies are steadily chipping away at it, violations of their rights and violations of their freedom. But I think part of it is that if we assume that we already know this history, then we're not going to be curious. We're not going to open ourselves up to trying to learn what happened. We're not going to look at organizations. We're not going to look at Black women and the club movement and all of the sort of fantastic work they're doing organizing communities, the things they're laying the foundation for 1965. But a lot of times people, they don't know that, or they're not open to knowing that because they assume they know what Jim Crow entailed.
Right. Well, yeah, it's sort of just summarized into that and not the details.
Yeah.
One thing that recently we had Victoria Christopher Murray on the show with her book, The First Ladies, which is about the relationship between Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune. And there's so much that Mary McLeod Bethune did in the 40s that allowed the civil rights movement to launch. It's like the prequel, so to speak, to what was going on in the civil rights movement. And it doesn't get as much attention as it should. Victoria does a really good job in that book doing that. So we are at the end of the time for our interview. It was a little shorter, but I want to tell people how they can get the book. And it looks like the cover is right behind you there on the wall.
Yep. Or this way.
Yeah.
So readers can get I Saw Death Coming anywhere they find books. There's also a great audio book. You can borrow it from libraries, etc.
Wonderful. Well, we did put your link in the chat. So hopefully people will reach out for this book, because it's a powerful, powerful testimony to what those of us who came before us went through. And I'm excited to see what the students who study this book take from it, and how they build on it.
So am I. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, good night. Well, we mentioned earlier that we had some videos to show you, so we have 2 more videos that we'll be showing you, people who either will be attending the festival or supporting the festival, and then we'll be back for our next interview. So take it away, Rob.
Acclaimed author, James C. Rollins, presents Go Tell It on the Mountain. Discover the untold history of African Americans. In this captivating and eye-opening journey through time, From the shackles of slavery to the present day, unearthed the dark underbelly of racial oppression, revealing the relentless forces of white supremacy that sought to diminish African American society. Explore the aftermath of emancipation, where the newly freed slaves faced the resurgence of bigotry in the form of black codes, chain gangs, peonage, convict leasing, and the terrifying presence of the Ku Klux Klan. Be exposed to how racism and systemic barriers impeded the dreams born from the triumphs of Black Wall Street. Witness the devastating effects of segregation and the unintended consequences of school desegregation, giving rise to a decline in educational interest and the introduction of destructive drugs into African American communities. Unveil the deliberate policies that perpetuated negative stereotypes and the systematic destruction of Black wealth-building initiatives. Be challenged to reevaluate the past and recognize the power of unity and resilience within the Black community, the significance of the Black vote and the urgent need for equal representation, the shaping of a more inclusive and equitable future. A powerful book that sparks a vital dialogue about the past and advocates for a society that embraces diversity, equality, and justice for all.
Welcome to Rainbow City, the city that is filled with love, peace, hope, happiness, and harmony. Joseph is my oldest son, and it was God that had used him to give him the idea of Rainbow City when he did a science project. And I told my son that one day we're going to put a book together, and God's going to use us to put it into the universe. The book is about loving yourself, loving others, being kind. Most importantly, it's about the importance of having a relationship with God and teamwork. That's what the book is about. In the book of James, it talks about consider it pure joy because it matures us. It helps us to be stronger, helps us to be more complete and whole. So whenever things get tough and challenging, make sure that you never give up. Persevere. We can't do anything in life without God. It's very important because He gives us the direction, He tells us what to do, He gives us instructions. Thank you for your time. God bless you. I love you. Always do your best. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you to those authors who submitted their videos to Black Authors Matter TV, and some of them will be at the festival this weekend. I know the last video from Joseph Henderson, he will be here at the festival for sure. So let's bring on our next guest, and our next guest is Charles Renthrope, I think. Anyway, so I have to tell us for sure how to pronounce the last name, but he also has a pseudonym he uses for his books. So he's going to tell us about that as well. So Charles, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Now we're waiting for the audio to connect.
Yeah, audio's connecting.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't hear you
Can't
yet.
hear you yet. It says it's connecting to the audio. And it's not showing the little microphone on our end yet, so.
I think he might have to log out and log back in too. Wait.
I don't see the little microphone. I see the camera, but not the little microphone.
Nope, still can't hear him.
Yeah, that little microphone's not there, so I can't even mute or unmute or anything. So
He's trying to connect his audio again.
So let's see if it.
Can you hear us now?
Oh, I see the little microphone now, so let me do that. Ask to unmute.
Unmute, please. Unmute.
Okay.
We got it.
There we are.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got some
Okay,
feedback.
good.
We have some feedback. Do you have
Yeah,
another?
I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, but there's feedback. Do you have another device on with this interview? Like I hear like an echo
No, I just think it might be where he is.
when you talk.
No, turn it.
Okay,
No.
well, that's better. That's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
welcome
Yeah.
to the show.
Welcome
So
to
we
Black
good.
Authors
All right.
TV, Charles. So what is
So
your, pronounce your last name for us.
I
Pronounce your last name for us.
Is it Renthrope?
I got some feedback. There's a delay. Well, it's Renthrope.
Renthrope.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Renthrope. Either way you go, we do.
Okay. All right. So you have a new book out. Well, yeah, it is new. And you were a finalist. You can't hear us.
Got some feedback both ends.
Are you on your phone or your laptop?
No, I'm on the computer.
Okay. I don't know.
I can hear you, but it's mumbled, and then at the end of it, what I say come back later.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's see. We're gonna try something. Nope.
Well, you can try logging off and logging back on, because I can hear it. I can hear myself. I can hear something back. So try logging off and logging right back on. And then hopefully that'll fix it. Usually a reset fixes most things technology-wise. So let's try that. Just log off and then click back in to join the Zoom meeting.
All right.
And it should be fixed. Okay, so while we're waiting on him to log back on, I'm going to go ahead and do the trivia for my book. If you all want to get the autographed copy of Exodus from Treachery, and it is a great book, if I should say so myself, a lot of hard work. It's a page turner. The people who reviewed it said they couldn't put it down, and so I'm excited about it. So here is the trivia question to win a copy of Exodus from Treachery. If you're ready, it is: the book's main character, Lloyd Palmer, is editor of what large city daily newspaper? In the book, he's editor of a paper, and the first person to get the right name of the paper wins the copy of the book. So while we're waiting for Charles to log back on, so it's a net or something, we'll see who gets the book, and then we will send
Curtis.
It out. Okay, that's an incomplete answer, Curtis. The name of the newspaper. You have to have a complete name of the newspaper. So we'll see who gets it. And so far, no one's gotten the complete name of the paper. So let's see if the audio for Charles.
He said the Houston Ledger.
Okay, so Curtis, you win the book, and it will be going out to you. Okay, so Charles, now we need to connect to the audio.
Connecting.
So let's see. Let's hope for the best.
Okay, but we can't hear you. Wait.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear?
All right, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. I don't know what's going on tonight.
Yeah.
So Charles, do you have a copy of your book with you, handy?
I do.
That you can show the
right
audience.
here. From Black Comes, Menu, and many others too.
Right, and it was a finalist.
And I got my sticker too.
Yeah, in the sticker, the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards. It was a finalist in the African Diaspora category. And the thing that stood out about the book was, one, is hardcover.
Yeah.
And hardcovers it has very vivid illustrations and very nicely put together. It's almost like a mini textbook, but it's for children, and it's very well illustrated, and what led you to, one, just right on the topic, but also what made you decide to go with the hardcover with the jacket with the sleeve on it? That's not common, especially
Well,
for new authors, which I believe this is your first book. Is it correct? Am I correct?
well, it's not. It's the second. It's the second. The first one came at a time when I just my mother's deceased, and she's been that way for 30 years, and I had to have open heart surgery, and my wife and I, we lost everything we had because of that, and I needed to be close to my mom because she was a school teacher, and we're going through so much, and anytime something would happen, we lost our home, we lost business, we lost everything. And when that would happen, I would see my mom, and she would be reading those childcraft books to me. And I told my wife, I said, I said I'm gonna write a children's book. And she was like, man, what are you talking about, a children's book? And we've lost everything in a children's book. So I went on and I did it anyway. So that first book was Escape from Smoothie Island, a Fruity Adventure. So we did that about 14 years ago, but it wasn't anything like this one.
Okay.
So that's what that was.
Okay.
And the reason I chose this book was because I chose From Black Comes is because I went to see Hidden Figures, and
Yes.
I actually still have the this is the stub from that movie. That movie was so impactful that it compelled me. And it wasn't the fact that the movie was an untold story, but it was the reason why. The reason why it was untold, because I realized that they didn't want us to know that. They didn't want us to have that history, because it's okay for us to hope, to wish, and to have a desire to do better. That's fine. But we didn't have to do that anymore because those women realized all of those things for us. So it goes from an aspiration to an expectation. What expectation does Rhonda have for herself? What expectation does Gwen have for herself when we walk through those doors that those women burst open for us? And I realized they didn't want that for us. So it made me angry. Made me angry because that's my history and I didn't know it. So I went home. And what I did was I went and I sat at my kitchen table and I wrote down a few things that I knew about our history. I just I just started going, and one thing led to the next thing, and then before long, I said, hey man, you're going down this rabbit hole. What are you gonna do with that? So I started thinking about Dr. King because his name was on the list, and I thought about how to have a dream, and the way he structured it. It was, I have a dream, and then he explained what that dream was. I have a dream, and he explained what it was. And if you read the book, it'll be From Black Comes, and then I explain. From Black Comes, and then I explain. And everything in the book is based on historical facts that come from our history. So that's how it came about.
Well, the great thing about using repetition, which is what you're doing, is it's easy to remember and it becomes a rhythm
That's right.
in the child's head.
All of them are worthy, rounded, but I wanted I wanted to hit some of the historical figures that aren't there doing Black History Month.
Yes.
I wanted to go deeper into it. I wanted
Right.
to
You
hit
wanted to
master
teach,
moves.
you wanted to teach them something and
That's
not just reiterate something that they hear all the
That's
time.
right. That's
I'm
right.
with you.
And it's going to be a series. So this is everything that you see in the book. It goes from Black Comes, voices that spoke for us all. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you a prelude to what's coming. So it's going to be a series. So everything that you see from Black Comes Kings, the next book will be a book full of Black kings. From Black Comes Queens, it'll be a book filled with queens. From Black Comes Voices that spoke for us all. From Black Comes Brave Women. You're gonna have books on those. So that's how we're gonna move forward with it.
I can see that being a series that lasts a very long time.
I hope so. I have a couple of goals and one focus. My focus is on our kids, but my goals, I have two. The first one is to expose African Americans to as much about our history as possible, because I believe when we are aware of our history, we can care about our history. And when we care about our history, then we can move forward with doing what it takes to protect that history. That's the
Yeah,
first
it
one.
makes us want to
And
walk
then-
more in excellence because we want
That's
to make those who came before us proud.
That's right. And then the second part of the goal is, it may be a lofty one, but I want From Black Comes to become a part of our culture. And I know that in order for me to do that, it has to stand for something. So that's where we're at with that.
Well, congratulations on being a finalist for the Black Authors Matter Children's Book
I
Award.
appreciate that, man.
And
I'm excited.
yeah, and the people who get their information about being a finalist, they'll say sometimes they'll say that they blinked first to make sure their eyes weren't deceiving them. I've been there too. I've been there.
That's right. I appreciate you. I appreciate both of you. I appreciate everybody that's associated with it, because this was great for me. It did a lot for me.
Yeah.
Will you be in Houston?
Yes, he's going to be in Houston.
I'm gonna ask beforehand.
Okay, I'm just making sure now. I'm just making sure.
I'm gonna be that round. I'm gonna find both of you. I'm coming.
You won't have to look far.
You definitely gonna see Gwen, and you'll definitely see me. I'm all over the place.
When you check in, you'll see me. That's what, when you check in, you'll see me. So
I'm looking forward to it.
So a couple of things when you mentioned that the Hidden Figures was an impactful movie, and it really was, but for me, it really was impactful because all of that was happening in my backyard when I was the area that I grew up in, and we didn't know it. We didn't know it was happening.
That's what I'm saying.
It was right in the area. I'm from Newport News, Virginia, and the area. I think they were at NASA or Langley, which is right. We used to take school field trips to where they were, but we didn't know that they were there. We had no idea.
That's right.
And so
they didn't want you to know that.
Well, that's true. And there wasn't really any mechanism.
I was just going to say that
to tell us.
I wonder if it's that they didn't want us to know, or that nobody told the story. And I'm talking about us as well. I mean, sometimes I don't believe that we don't effectively tell our stories when it's happening in real time. We don't always see it as the historic moment that it actually is. And I still use the example of Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Turnbull Malone. A lot of people didn't know about Annie Turnbull Malone. They didn't know that she was the one who actually taught Madam C.J. Walker. But our history tells us that Madam C.J. Walker was the first Black female millionaire, and it was actually Annie Turnbull Malone. But we didn't know about her. We knew about Madam C.J. Walker because people told her story. So we have to be more serious about telling our story if we want our story to be a part of history, of our own history. And that's why books like yours are very valuable, because there's going to be a child who reads about one or two of the people in your book, and they're going to want to know more about them.
That's the aim. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I just want to briefly talk about, you talked about losing everything, and I wanted to mention it, not to dwell on it, but to let people know that you can recover from having a setback, a serious setback.
Yes,
you can recover, but it takes a lot, because I didn't lose everything like you did, but after my first marriage, I had to really, it's like I went down. Financially, emotionally I was better off, but but financially it was, I took a real hit, and you wonder if what tomorrow's gonna look like. You do have those times of doubt. So just tell us a little bit about how you all were able to bounce back from that situation.
Faith in God, and what we did was we just hunkered down and we believed in one another. And we just took one day at a time, one day, one step at a time, one day at a time. So that's how we did it. That's how we did it. And I'm thankful for her. You know, I tell her all the time that I'm thankful that she waited for me to grow up, because I had a lot of growing up to do. And I'm glad she saw something in me that made her want to stay and bear with me, because I could be a lot sometimes.
That's a mature look on it. When you know yourself, then you can be a
Yeah,
lot.
I could be a lot sometimes.
Yeah,
But
and
I'm
sometimes,
good.
yeah, those situations do that. They're also very humbling.
Yeah, more. I mean,
Sometimes
it.
we need to be humbled. Sometimes, not you. I'm saying in my case,
Yeah, me
I was
too. Me,
I was
me
always
too.
a go-getter. I thought I could, everything
Yeah,
I did succeeded up to that point, and then that showed me, okay, Gwen, you don't know everything. It's a lot,
that's right. That's right.
and so we need
I've
humbling.
always wanted to be a school teacher. I've always wanted to do that, but because my mom was a fourth grade school teacher. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't have what it takes. It takes discipline, it takes patience, it takes sacrifice, and I didn't have those things. I just didn't have it. So that didn't happen for me. And I'm just thankful for second chances, because mom used to tell me all the time, Gwen, she used to say, son, if you want to teach, you have to first be willing to serve. And if you don't serve the people, then they won't trust you to teach them anything. It doesn't matter if you're 5 or 85. You have to put the work in. And I've never been willing to put the work in. I always wanted it quick, wanted it fast. But today I'm thankful, because, I know I'll see her again one day. And I know the first thing she'll ask me is, did you ever become that school teacher that you wanted to be? And I'll have to say, no, I didn't. But I didn't teach the people, but I did serve the people, and this is my way of doing it.
Well,
So thank God
you're
for
a
second chance.
teacher. You're a teacher. You're just
Yeah,
doing
you're a
it in a
teacher.
different way.
That book is going to teach some people. And
Mhm.
really, all authors, to a certain extent, are teachers, because
Uh-huh.
every school uses books. They
That's
could be
right.
digital
That's right.
books or actual books, but they're written by somebody or somebody's. Also,
That's
they
right.
take books, and books outlive us. I tell people that your work outlives you.
I'm
So people are
hoping so. I hope
reading
so.
books that were written 100 years ago or more than that. Of course, the Bible
I
is
hope
really, really old, but
so. I hope
but
so.
books outlive people, and so ideas and research, facts, or in some cases, falsehoods. Because just
Mm.
because it's in a book doesn't mean it's true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have to be willing to do your own research too, as
Mm-hmm.
you're studying, and not you, a person. Just you have to be willing to put the work
Put
in.
in the work. You got to put
Right.
in the work.
Absolutely. And you put in the work, because
Mhm.
the type of book that you did is not something that can be written overnight.
No, it's not a simple project.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
project that you did.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. So
I'm proud of it.
who did your illustrations?
Well, I actually went to Fiverr, and
Okay.
I lucked out, and I found somebody that did all of the illustrations for me on Fiverr, and
Okay.
we lucked out with them.
Yeah, that you did luck out, because it's very hard to find an illustrator who
That's
can
right.
make your vision come to life, and you were able to find that, so that's a great thing.
It
Yeah,
took
Fiverr
a
can be
while,
hit or
though. It
miss
took
too,
a
from
good.
what I hear. I mean,
That's
I
right.
got an
That's right.
illustrator on Fiverr, but it can be hit or miss, and you have to really sift through. You have to really study the uh, portfolios of the people on there and really look at their work, and I used Freelancer for my last 2 projects, and I found the quality of the
Okay.
talent is a little higher, but the price is a little bit higher too. But my first children's book, and really it's 5 of them, because once I got the illustrator for the first installment, it's a series, and you like to stick with the
That's
same
right.
person if you're doing a series, because it needs to look the same, you know.
That's
So
right. That's
so
right.
I did get a good one for that on Fiverr, but it took me sifting through some people.
You're a little wild. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, I also got a formatter on there too. The children's book formatter on there that I've used for all my children's books. He's in Nigeria.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Okay, well, this guy is in, I think he's in Indonesia. Indonesia, I think he is.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. People all over the world do
As long as they do a good job, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
so
with you on
what?
that. I'm with you.
So do you have a follow-on project? Well, you did say you were going to be turning it into a series, like breaking it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna break it up and turn it into a series. I'm gonna try to do as many as I can.
Uh-oh. He's freezing now.
Yeah. Sometimes it kicks out, but I think we may have lost him, because normally if it freezes and it's gonna come back, it comes back pretty fast.
Right.
So
Well, it was almost the end of the interview.
there you go.
I want to consolidate as much as to have to go to them. Nothing against to the movie to find out about it. Did I? Are you got me?
Now we do, but you froze for a few seconds, like 30 seconds.
You were like
this time.
All right. We're
Yeah.
working it out.
Yeah, technology is, most weeks we don't have any kinds of glitches, but every now and then there's something. And when it's live, anything can happen.
You get what you get when it's live.
Yeah, but we love it live because we get the interaction from the audience. And sometimes the unpredictability of live is good, you know? So let me see if someone has any questions. Barbara Crump said, hello, Charles. She's looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you, thank you.
One of our new people. And Sherry Carthane said, this is real talk. Sherry Carthane is she's one of our top fans, but she's also one of my best friends in real life. So yeah, she's one of my choir buddies. And
we also put your link in the chat. So we encourage everybody watching the show to click on that link and to support this very, very powerful piece of work.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Okay, and we will see you this weekend in Houston. You will be there, and I believe you said you're bringing your wife with you.
Yeah, okay. I'm bringing my wife with me. She'll be there with me.
Okay, well, we'll see you in a couple of days, and until then,
right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all for having me.
Okay.
I appreciate y'all for having me.
Thank you.
See y'all soon. All right, bye-bye.
All right. Now, someone asked in the chat, was my book fiction? Yes, this is fiction. My book, The Genesis Files, which was the first installment in the Genesis series. I've called this series Genesis. And this is the second installment. And for those of you all who know the order of the books in the Bible, I use the word Exodus because it's a continuation. So book 3, if I ever write it, I already have a title, but I don't have the story. So
it's not going to be Leviticus?
Yes. But the title, and I guess it doesn't matter. The title is going to be Leviticus Jones. I'm just letting you all know that. That's going to be the title of book 3. Will I write it, or how long it'll take me to write it? I have no idea. Because it took me 5 years to write each of these books. And there was a 5-year break in between. So the Genesis Files took me 5 years. Then there was a break, and then it took me 5 years to write this book. So I can't wait 5 more years. If I do Leviticus Jones, it's going to be out in two years at the most. So I hope this is the next guest. The name in the chat is not the name. So we'll see, because our next guest is Chalmer Williams, but the name in the chat is not Chalmer Williams. So
Well, it's not Liz either, though, huh?
Okay, so that's Chalmer, because I recognize his face from this picture. But the name says Liz Garbett. So are you able to, okay, good. Because that way, when we do the splitting of the interview and we do the media part of it, we have the correct name on the screen. So Chalmer, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hey, glad to be here.
Okay, can you bring your camera down just a little bit? Just there, yeah, right there. Well, yeah, up a little bit. Okay, okay. Yeah, so you're straight on. And I saw you had a Tuskegee sweatshirt on.
Yep.
Are you an alumnus of Tuskegee?
I am an alumnus of Tuskegee, and I felt like it would only be fitting to wear the shirt, considering that's what the book is about.
Well, okay. All right. Well, I didn't realize that. Removing the veil of bondage, that's what this is about there?
Yeah, removing the veil of bondage, memoirs of my college experience.
Oh, okay. So it's a memoir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow. My daughter has that sweatshirt, by the way. She went to an HBCU and she collects HBCU sweatshirts. She wants to eventually have them all. So she has Tuskegee as one of hers.
Cool.
But she went to North Carolina Central.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So what inspired, I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, I was done.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna ask, what inspired you to write your memoirs about your college experience?
I think for me, I think it was a pivotal moment to write about my college experience. I mean, I didn't write about the whole 4 to 5 years. I just wrote about the last year and a half because I felt that was significant, because that was when spiritual transformation took place and I gave my life to the Lord.
Wow. Okay. So is it about that specific moment in time, so to speak? Wow.
Yes, it's that moment in time of when everything slows down and you have a person on campus that asks that age-old question: if you die right now, where would you go? And so, you know, for me, this book, I start in chapter 1 just like that. Like, there's no build up. We jump right in. It's my senior year in college, and I take you right into that moment.
Wow.
College is a transformational period for people who go, especially when you leave home and go.
Yeah, I think college is one of those things that everybody's searching. And that's kind of how I build up chapter 1. Everybody's searching. They're trying to find who they are. You know, most people that ask me, you went to a HBCU, did you join a fraternity or for sorority? Because they think that's, where your identity lies. You know what I mean? Like, HBCUs are only known for, stepping in fraternities and sororities, or, your major, or your sexuality, or athletics, or social clubs. I mean, the list goes on and on. But, there's not a lot of times where you hear people talk about how going to a HBCU helped them find God.
Well, or college period, but
college period.
Yeah, well, I do hear what you're saying though about going to an HBCU, but I don't know. I think in some ways unfortunately, I didn't go to an HBCU. However, I was a part of the Black Student Union.
Yeah.
And our spirituality was a huge part of everything that we did. Whenever we went to meetings, we made sure we prayed before the meetings. There were times when our Black Student Union all went to church together. We chose a church and we went to church together. We started a gospel choir. And I'll tell you, gospel choirs in college are amazing. We used, even after I joined the Army, I remember there was a local college in the city where we lived that had a wonderful gospel choir, and we invited them to our church to sing. So I do feel that probably more in HBCUs than maybe other schools. Spirituality does play a large part in the whole HBCU experience. I mean, my daughter went to Clark Atlanta, and I tell you, the class president got up and preached a sermon about breaking chains because and breaking bonds, because these kids were in school and many of them were the first generation to go to college, and he basically preached a sermon on that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it wasn't, but usually that's not the first thing people mention, right? So just like Tuskegee and many other historically Black colleges and universities, we had a chapel on campus, just like some others, you know what I mean? We had groups that had choirs and things, but when you start talking to people in conversation, that's not the first thing they mention. They either mention the fraternities, the sororities, the athletics, the scholarships, what kind of job you got, different things like that. And that's why I kind of framed it in that way.
I understand that.
Yeah, the choirs are a big part of that HBCU experience. My daughter was in the choir, and they traveled and did choir competitions and things like that.
For me, I was just a regular student. I wasn't a part of the choir. I didn't go to chapel service only when I had to. So, even though I grew up in the church, once I got on my own in college, those first few years, it was everything but God. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I think why that was such a pivotal experience for you then.
Yeah, the college experience, that's your first, when you go away from home, that's when what your parents taught you gets tested.
Yes.
And exactly.
And and then you try to go against some of the things they taught you, thinking that you know better or whatever. They're old fashioned, they're just old, and they don't get it. And so then you bump your head a few times, and then you realize, okay, that they do get it. What they told, that's what they meant when they said whatever it was, X and Y. That's what they were talking about. But it's a process.
It's definitely a process. I mean, for me growing up, I knew a lot of religion, but I didn't know relationships. So the way this guy had approached me, it was like mind blowing. Like he was talking about love and relationship and purpose. And I had never heard, all of those things were like a foreign concept to me. I was like, well, I mean, you speak in tongues or you shouting, that's your ticket to heaven. That's what it looked like in my mind at, 21, 22 years old. So when I had this guy,
there's still people who think that their ticket to heaven is just because they can speak in tongues.
Exactly. Exactly. And so that's why I felt like writing this book was pivotal, because, it shows how I came to know, God in a different way. And it shows honesty, the things that I struggled with, the things that I had to overcome. The initial conversation, I didn't say yes at first. You know what I mean? Because I didn't understand it. And I was like, I can't commit to something that I don't understand.
Right.
So.
So who is the primary audience for your book?
Young adults, college students. That's pretty much my primary audience, that 18 to 24 demographic.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because some people don't know the audience for their book. You ask them what the audience is, and they'll say, well, everybody. And that's not a really good answer, because everybody's not going to read every book.
Anybody can read my book, but I always tell people that I'm encouraging to write books, always have the beginning with the end in mind. And so I knew when I started this book, like this was going to be the audience, it was going to be dedicated to.
Okay. So is this your first book?
Second.
Okay, second book. Okay. So your second book, a lot of people's first books especially are memoirs or autobiographical, they say. but your second book was that. And so what was your first book about?
Me again. Me again. I mean, I don't know if I fit the mold of how you're supposed to write books, but what I do know is true is that your life is like a written letter for others to read. And so my first book is an autobiography or a nonfiction based on a life-changing moment that happened when I was 17.
Oh, okay. All
Yep.
right.
And so that book is called Fighting for a Laugh, shameless plug. You can find that on Amazon now for $8.99.
It's not a shameless plug when we're here to
No.
plug you. It's okay.
Okay. I know we're talking about the second one, so that's fine.
Well, no, this is all about you and your work and your inspiration and your motivations and how people are responding to your book. So what kind of responses are you getting from your book? And when did your book come out?
Which one, the first or the second one?
New one. The
The
newest
new
one.
one came out January of this year.
Okay.
I think it was the 23rd, came out January of this year.
Okay.
Released it independently. My first book came out the week after COVID hit, so March 2020.
Okay.
And
Yeah, a lot of people wrote books during COVID. I bet you there's a million books that got written during COVID.
But you didn't write that book because of COVID. You had already started that one, right?
I had already started in 2019. The release date was
it was
March
2020.
2020, not knowing COVID was
Oh,
coming down the pipeline.
Oh, okay.
So
All
COVID
right.
hit, I think, spring break or March, second or third week, and my book came out a week later. So I was really nervous, sweating bullets, because I'm like, man, nobody's going to read this. This is going to flop. And it actually did the exact opposite because everybody was in the house.
Yeah, people had time to read. They had to do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of books got written and read during, especially that first year of COVID.
Yeah, first year. So it did really well. At one point, it was top 100 on Amazon.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of
second, but that still counts as something.
It still counts. It happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And something you said about the mold for being an author or whatever. There's really not a mold. I mean, there are formulas that the industry has for books when they sign people. The big publishers, they have a blueprint.
Yeah.
But if you're self-published, there is no mold. You can do whatever you want to do. That's one benefit of it. Now you don't have the distribution that the big publishers have, but then you control your rights. You still own your rights. And so you can do whatever your mind, you're not locked into doing the same or doing like a 2-book thing or, a time frame. People will say they have a deadline, with the big publishers, they have a deadline, so they have to write. It's like writing on demand.
Yeah, I hate that.
I can't do it because my ideas don't flow like that.
Yeah, I mean,
my time doesn't flow like that.
And so, for me, I just like the freedom to kind of move at my own pace and control my narrative and, not worried about getting caught up in the numbers so much, but just how to, change people's lives, impact people's lives.
Yeah, I love that phrase, control the narrative, because there's some books that are self-published that the industry would never publish. They just wouldn't do it, or they would want to change it so much that it's no longer the book that you originally wanted it to be.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard to change something when I'm writing from true events. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, but they might want to add things or say this is too, this won't work with this audience, as if they know everything. That these are just some of the tropes that you hear from
it's
people.
a business at the end of the day, so I understand.
It is, and they tried to do what's already been proven.
Right.
They don't break new ground. The new groundbreaking normally comes from somebody new or somebody that's self-published, and then they tap into it. That's just how that is. But there's so many options now for people, which is really great in terms of self-publishing. It's affordable, it's accessible, and you can publish fast. You don't have to wait that 2 years after your book is finished that you do in the industry. You can get your book out pretty quick. So from why did you title it about the veil of bondage? Why did you?
So that title is kind of paying homage to the founder of Tuskegee, Booker T. Washington. So Booker T. Washington has a quote that he goes, it's called "Lifting the Veil of Ignorance," right? And I almost went with that title, but I was like, nah, that might ruffle some feathers, especially if I can't get it clear from the school. So I kind of remixed it, if you will, rephrased it so that it would fit. It would sound similar, but not exact. But it's paying homage to Booker T in the sense, because he has a statue in the middle of the campus where he's holding his hand out and he's putting his arm around a slave that's bent over, barely has any clothes on, and he's kind of lifting the veil of ignorance through education and skill set.
So are you going to, you think that you're going to write another book and everything is going to be a pivotal moment, so to speak?
Yeah, I think so. My next book, I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but my next book will probably be on fatherhood. I don't know the concept or the format, but my next book will probably be on fatherhood. Just because I work in that line of work. I have a podcast called Fatherhood Fridays, so I think it would only be fitting to have that as the next and final one.
I did notice that you had a podcast when I looked at your link. So how often does your podcast air?
So Fatherhood Fridays airs every Friday, weekly. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Breaker, like all of the major podcast platforms. And either myself or I bring on a guest and we just talk about fatherhood and the many different topics that fathers deal with today.
Well, all right.
Are you a father?
I am a father. I'm a father of 2 kids. I have a boy and a girl, Cedric and Tamara, 10 and 7.
Oh, okay. So what do you think some of the challenges of fatherhood are today? I know there are probably many.
There's a lot of challenges, but I think one is stigmatism, right? There's still this stigma that there are a lot of absentee fathers. Well, that's not totally correct. There's actually, especially African Americans, there's more fathers in the home now than there was ever before. So that's one stigmatism, and fathers wanting to be more involved in their kids' lives has been an evolution over the last probably 20, 30 years. So
now, I'm not sure about your statistic on the fathers in the home today, numbers wise. Where you're getting
when it comes to race,
referring to living in?
Well, see, I think let's break this down.
Okay.
What is really an absent father, right? An absent father is a father that's non-existent. Just because you're not married to the mother of your child doesn't necessarily make you an absent father, because to be absent is to totally not be present. You might not be living in the home, you might not be involved, but you're not necessarily absent either. So I think changing the verbiage and changing the language, that's another thing that many fathers deal with as being a father, you know, on top of the statistics, on top of you know, not getting the necessary support or resources needed. You know, fatherhood has only been studied probably since the 50s or 60s, to be honest. Everybody else, women and children, have been studied a lot longer. So when we look at these, you know, social services support systems, they've initially been dedicated to the mother or the children. And so for so long, fathers have only been looked at as just a provider. And so, you know, through my line of work and just in generally speaking, that is another challenge, is convincing a father like you are more than just a paycheck. Because also statistics show, because I go to these conferences all the time, that the fathers have the greatest impact as far as success rates in a kid graduating from high school, a kid not going to jail, reading, going to college, so on and so forth. Having that father in the home has the greater impact. But we also share the greater impact when it comes to mental health. We have the higher rate of suicide, we have the higher rate of depression, we have the higher rate of anger management, and so on and so forth.
Because of everything that's on that father's shoulders.
Because of everything that's on the father's shoulders, and many fathers that I work with don't understand that there are resources out there, that there's support out there, that there are teaching out there to help you evolve into the father that you were meant to be, not the father that you looked up to 30, 40 years ago.
Well, I totally agree with you on the impact part, because every study that's ever been done shows that the present father has a tremendous positive impact. Or let me say this, the negative outcomes are dramatically reduced when the father is present. And that can be living in, as you say, or involved, regularly involved. All those negative outcomes is dramatic. The difference is dramatic when the father is present and involved. So and I'm glad to see that that's a topic of discussion. Fatherhood. I think that's a great topic to talk about, because we don't hear as much about that fatherhood, other than the fact that they're not there.
Exactly. And I think for me, my podcast gives a voice to that, because you're able to hear real stories. You're able to, you know, hear honesty. You're able to hear struggle. You're able to hear wisdom. You're able to hear like, hey, you're able to hear me. Like, I'm one of them too. You know, just because I do the host the podcast doesn't mean that I have everything figured out. Right. I'm walking right alongside you, trying to figure this out together. You know what I mean? And I think that's how it should be, is that instead of me telling you what to do, allow me to walk alongside you and build that rapport. And so we can figure this out together, because there's strength in numbers.
Beautiful.
That is, I really admire what you're doing with that, because there's also fathers aren't going to be perfect, because mothers aren't perfect. You know? So some people, I think they also have unrealistic expectations of perfection, and that's just, nobody's going to be perfect. But the presence, unless there's some kind of abuse or something, and you know, and this is what bothers me when you sometimes talk about how fathers need to be present or have a positive outcome. They'll fall back on, the default is, well, it's better for him to not be there than if he's a drug addicted, alcoholic, abuser, or domestic violence. No, why does that have to come into the conversation at all? A father's not going to be perfect, because a mother's not perfect, but the fact that he's there, present, and wanting to raise his children and be involved in their development is what's important.
Yeah, and I just think that, you know, like you said, no parent is perfect. And I think that you know, when it comes to fatherhood, you have to meet fathers where they're at. And every father is at a different place in life. And most fathers just want to be understood, you know, instead of being justified. You know, and I meet fathers like that, like they're already defending their case with me. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to tell you, you know, what you did right or wrong. I'm here to support you. I'm here to build you up. I'm here to get you through these lessons. And, you know, some fathers, when the program is over with, they're crying. You know, they're writing me thank you cards. And, you know, for another man to write another man a thank you card with some money in it, that goes a long
That's
way.
powerful.
That goes a long way, you know, because we don't do stuff like that.
You really
Yes.
touched him, you know.
Well,
So-
we have a couple of minutes left, but we did have a number of comments and questions in the chat.
Okay.
I'll start with Sherry Carthy, and she said excellent points. And how do dads get information on what sort resources are available to support them?
Well, there are several resources available. So I'm here. I'm honestly not in Houston. I'm in Austin. There's a nonprofit that I work for called Safe Alliance. You can go through that. There's iDads, that's another one. You can go through the manandme.org. There are different programs that I can list when we get off, that you can, it has like a Google search, and you can find different programs in your area that can provide pretty much intervention for that father.
Okay, awesome. And another question, I'm BLUS, the book, Black in the US, wanted to know what your message was that you wanted to express to your readers. Probably talking about your latest book.
The message that I wanted to express to my readers in my latest book, Removing the Veil of Bondage, is that, you know, in life, you know, the Spirit of God is always looking for an opportunity to meet you where you are. And for me, that was college. And even though initially I said no, there's still always going to be someone or something that is trying to draw you closer to him. And why? So his kingdom can advance. So your purpose of why you've been birthed can be created. So that would be my message.
Now, Chalmer, do you have a copy of your book? Because we haven't seen the cover yet.
Yeah.
Like, since you've been on the show, so we wanted people to see the cover. So if they want to order,
I don't know if you can see this in
put it closer to you. Put it close to you.
Closer to you.
Closer to you. Well,
No,
moving forward.
Front of you.
In front of
There
you.
you go.
Yeah, there you go, right there. Okay, and that's Removing the Veil of Bondage. It's by Chalmer Williams, and it's available on his website and most likely Amazon as well.
That is correct.
Rhonda put the website in the chat so people can access it.
All right. Sounds good. Any more questions out there?
No, the most
comments.
Statements. It's mostly comments. But you engaged, the audience was very engaged in the interview. Oh, where are you from? But did you answer that already?
No. So currently I live in Austin, Texas, but believe it or not, I know I'm gonna get some laughs. I am from Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay. Well,
yep.
Denver's not bad.
No, we don't meet many brothers from there,
I know.
but
I know. And so when I left, the Black population disappeared. I'm just messing with you.
That's funny. Well, Chalmer, now are you registered for the festival?
I am registered for the festival.
Okay, I can't remember. Every now sometimes I get between the people on the show and the people registered for the festival. Sometimes there's overlap. So our previous guest is also Charles Renthrope. He's also going to be at the festival. So we will see you there in a couple of days.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate you guys taking the time out.
Okay.
All right, well, we look forward to meeting you next week.
All right, sounds
Well,
good.
this
This
weekend, I
week.
guess I should
This
say.
week. It's this
Yeah,
week, Rhonda.
weekend.
You
Yeah,
should be flying here in 2 days.
No,
I
I'm
will
just
be. I'll
I'm
see you.
just I'm just driving. It's just 2-3 hours for me, so I'll see you
Well,
guys.
it's
couple
more
of-
than 2-3 hours for
Rhonda's in
me.
DC area, so she
Oh,
has.
okay.
So yeah, you see us both this weekend.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care.
All right,
Take
y'all have a
care,
good one.
all. You
All
too.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, we're bringing on our final interview, but I did want to reiterate that my book is available now on Amazon and on Kindle and paperback. Exodus from Treachery. It's a really good book, if I should say so myself. It's not like any other book you've read, and I'll say that it's fiction, but here's the interesting thing. My 2 novels, my main characters are males in both books. So I've been surrounded by alpha males my whole life, and I understand the male mind, and my characters are really, really provocative and interesting. So, okay, so we are going to bring on our final guest, and it's Fann. That's what she goes by for her author name, her pen name. And she is the author of a book called Her Shoes. And she has stilettos on the front of the book.
Come on,
And
Stella.
if she has a copy of it, she can show you the cover of her book. So, Cece, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well,
This has been a journey.
here.
I'm sorry, what did she say?
I said, thank you for being here.
Oh, yes. Look, I was trying to come in early, right?
She was. I had to tell her that she was on 2 hours early, and but that happens
2 hours
because
early.
the time zone difference. And then she was on early, even earlier. So Cece, you were on before the show came on, I think.
I was. And it's crazy, and I'm gonna make it short. Here I was, I teach all day, and then they asked me to work a football game. So I looked at your email at the game, and it says Central Time. I said, what is that? Like, because I hadn't been out in the Midwest in years. So I was like, oh my God. And I told my AD, I gotta go home. Something's not right with this time. Like, and then I'm in my master's program. It starts at 7:32. So that was just like between the time you had for me and then that class, it was just threw me all the way out. So I apologize. I really do.
Oh no, it's
You're
not
here
a problem.
now, though.
No, it's no problem for you to log on early. I just normally when people log on an hour early, that means or more, that means they have the time on. They have the time zone.
It was
on.
off. It was off.
So I try to reach out to them so they won't think, well, they didn't bring me on. I was there, but nobody brought me on. That's because you were not on at the right time.
I knew when I tried it and you didn't connect me, I said, I'm not doing it right. I knew that. And I guess that comes from, honestly, because I guess that comes from the educator part for me. And we often have meetings or what have you. I said, it's something I'm not doing right. I said, either she's going to email me or call me. So I went with that.
Okay. And that worked. That worked.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
You're a teacher and you're starting your master's program.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
You're also a writer. And your book, Her Shoes. Do you have a copy of your book?
Yes, I do. I do.
Because we had it posted on our Facebook page, and people commented about the cover, they like the cover with the shoes on it.
Really, I love the red bottom shoes. And when I decided to do this book, and because it actually, like I said, it was a journey and a walk for me. It was a time where I needed to do self-reflection on me and the things I'm doing. I allow these people that could be in my circle that watch my movie, and I need to get them out the theater or express myself of some of the things that I allow happen, but it's my fault. And so when I started looking at the cover and coming up with the title, and lo and behold, I seen those Louis Vuitton red bottom shoes, and I said, no, but that's perfect. I would love that. because the red, as we people say, I think as Cardi B says, blood, the blood red shoes, the red
bloody shoes.
Yeah. And so, and our walk as females and women today, and as men, it's a rough walk. Sometimes we may not show we bleeding, but we are bleeding, And so that's what the red signified for me when I did that cover. It was like, yeah, everybody thought I was like, I had it going on. I'm good. Like I'm the fixer in the family. I'm always helping people. Because I'm a teacher and a coach. I'm always by kids and my own kids. But I had personal things that I wanted to become and do, but I didn't want to feel like, oh, I'm trying to be better or bigger than somebody else.
Right.
I just want this. I've been writing or in the book world for almost 15 years, but I haven't really dedicated time. Only time I dedicated time is when I'm in between something, when I start working on writing. So after this year they said, okay, you're not coaching this year, and I took the time off for the summer. I said, you know what, let me invest back into my business, because I'm a self-published, and take care of the things I need to do for my books so I can get that done. So taking a break from coaching this year, but I'm still teaching and get my master's. I'm a SPED teacher with a teacher certification here in Georgia, but I got my high school to teach high school social studies. I love history. So, and I'm 57. So I just wanted to do things for me, yes, put me first, and everybody else, what you second. I see my little, I see my volleyball teams and my basketball team, and I see you're gonna be all right. God got you. I'm praying, support you. But I do know that is working for the school system is a great job, but that's man job, And
you said it's a what job?
Working for the school system, but it's a man supervises you.
Oh, I said, yeah.
You got a superintendent, you got a social, you got a principal. So at any time, they can move you, demote you, or what have you. But when you own your own gift or your business, and I believe in the Bible, if you don't use it, he moves it somewhere else. So yeah. So I told Jesus, he told me this summer, okay, now this your last shot. So here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, well, there are some stages that we all go through, and being a mother and wife, it can be very demanding, let alone whatever career you have or business. Yes. And a lot of times, I know with family, I'll say this, they really appreciate you when you're not there. Like when you go out of town, it's like, whoa, wow, when is she coming back? And my thing is, y'all be fine or not, whatever. But I have to take, a break for myself so I can recharge. So I can be here for you all,
That's right. Well, I'm blessed. I'm the oldest, my mother's oldest child. My grandmother raised me. She's deceased, but I have two younger sisters under me, three siblings under me. And I took care of my grandmother for her last 8 years of her life, basically. And so with that said, I told my younger sister, I said, okay, she's gonna have to be on y'all this time, because taking care of someone when they're sick, it weighs on you,
Yes.
And I know that my mom, because I moved away 4 years ago during COVID to be near my grandkids who come back from Texas. And I know my grandbabies need me, just like my grandmother, I needed my grandmother, they needed me. So I put my grandkids first now. And my sisters, I told them, y'all need me. I'll drive that 2 hours and a half, come there and see and do what we got to do, take care of my mom. But I just to enjoy my grandkids who've been in Texas for 8 years. One's 16, one is 10, and one is 6. They go to their games and run the floor with them, play dollhouse. It just means everything in the world for me because they've been gone so long. So to be near them, that just does a lot for me. It motivates me and pushes me because when they Google my name, they're like, Mama Trina, that's you? I said, yeah, that's me.
That's so sweet.
Yes. And they know they want to teach school. I have my grandson, he talked about teaching. So with that, and to see when I started writing years ago, it was to let my children know whatever you want to do, because I'm from Wrightsville, 3 red lights, okay? And I lived there all my life. And to know that Wrightsville is more than what's happening in Wrightsville. You know, there's a lot out in the world to go out and be and do.
Yeah. And have you traveled internationally yet?
No, I have not. That's on my bucket list.
Okay.
It is. I have not. I've been to the Mexico border, but I have not. I've been to pretty much all the states because I love history. And because when my prison book that I did in 2007, I had a chance to travel and do a lot of correctional conference and speak about personal dealing with inmates. So I got a chance to travel to different states. They was really nice. They took care of girl, I tell you. And to teach the workshop of not having sex with inmates, you know, as an officer. So I had a chance to see that, but I have not been able to go out the country. I don't even have a passport yet. So trust me, it is on the bucket list to do. My school is going to England next summer. So
you better get on it then, because those passports are taking a long time.
They are taking a long time.
Really?
I need to get mine expired. So
yeah, it's taking over 13 weeks now.
Well, it's next summer, so I will start then. I'll go ahead.
Start
get it started.
Start now, so you can.
Yes.
Sure
because I love England. I love reading about it, and I watched Princess Diana when she got married.
Have you watched The Crown?
I have not, but one of my social studies teachers told me, said I need to see it.
You need to watch The Crown. It's excellent. If you really want to know like the history of Queen Elizabeth, how she came to the throne and just her 10 years. And it is a dramatic production, but it's very accurate in terms of the facts and the time, the things the pivotal points and things that happen. And it was just very, very well done and well casted too. Because
they had just like them.
Yeah, they had to change the casting, you know, because it starts when she's in her 20s, when she ascends to the throne. Well, actually before that, because her father was the king, and then he died, he got sick, and his brother abdicated the crown because
I remember that
in love with a divorced woman, and that was considered to be taboo, you know, unacceptable. So that's how she became the queen at 24, 25. She was very young and served for 70-something years.
Yeah, so I loved it. I can't wait to see it.
It's on Netflix.
You'll enjoy it. I watched the entire series. I'd be sitting here at work all day because I work from home, and I'm just watching The Crown while I'm working.
Yeah, I've seen it twice, only because when the last season came out, you know, it's so much of a gap between the seasons that in order to kind of refresh myself on where things ended, I ended up watching it a second time. And the last season is coming out soon.
Okay.
Like in another 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, I didn't realize it was coming up that soon. Okay.
So we're out of school. That's why I say I love being a teacher, because we're out so much with the holidays and what have you. I don't understand why people complain about being a teacher. Let me say that, okay? Because we do have like 190 days that we are in school, but you think about it, 365 days in a year, right? So, and I'm like, you got time to reset, you got time, you know, so we got that week of Thanksgiving off because I'm not coaching basketball this year. I'll be binge watching, eating some Hershey Kisses.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Look, eating Hershey Kisses and
yeah, it's really good. Tell us about your book, Her Shoes.
Her Shoes, the collections of poems and poetry, short stories. During a phase, I was in transition. I don't know if you know much how towards being a teacher. If you didn't go to school to be a teacher in college, I have a criminal justice degree. I worked 17 years for the prison. Okay. And so someone said, you know what, an easy way so you can put money in your business is become a school teacher. So I went through the TAP program. So for 4 years, I was like teaching school under this provisional certificate, but I was coaching all year long. And I didn't have time to take care of the paperwork I needed for the TAP program, which the time ran out. So I had to pass this STPA, missed it by a point. So at that point, that's when I realized I invested so much into kids and to the school that I was at, that I did not take out time to take care of the paperwork I needed to do for the certificate. So so while I was home for that year, and they was trying to figure out ways to keep me, let me say that now, and so I can stay there with my teams. Yes, the superintendent daughter and I, we became best friends. They were like, did you send it in yet? You know, but then COVID happened too. So between that, so I had time to just sit there and just write poems and reflect on my life. One of the things I talked about, my grandmother raised me, is I talked about my relationship with my father, and how everything that I've been through, it didn't break me. And I think that's the part that some people want to see you broken, you know, but you don't know how. Some people don't know how to be broken because they know how to bounce back and keep it moving. And I was a single mom, so I sat there and I just started writing poems. You know, it was like, I love shooting. I used to do firearm training for the prison, so I love shooting. So to me, it was like every poem was like taking a shot. Like let me get it out.
Rhonda's a soldier, well, retired, so to speak.
Yeah, retired soldier, but yeah, I used to shoot
She
too.
can probably shoot too. I've never shot.
I know you do. Isn't it sort of therapy though, for real?
It is.
Yes, it's like, I don't know. And I'm a tomboy at heart, so I love basketball and I love playing and stuff, shooting. So I would go to the gym, just shoot around and stuff. And the kid be like, "What you doing, Coach Fann?" And I'm like, "I gotta have some therapy right now." So this book was just a collection of going back through my childhood and being an adult, raising my kids, sending them all to college, and just talk about those things, how I really felt. But I went ahead on and went through the, how we say, function of doing things, fixing it. I'm a known fixer. It's like one of my coworkers we were talking about something, and I said, "Okay, what we got to do? What we got to do to take care of what we don't." Because I'm bad at relationships, for it's like having to keep revisiting something over and over, you know. So I just want to like, let's come up with a plan, a strategy, so we can take care of it and keep it moving, you know. So, and that's
I like. I'm a solution oriented person too.
And that's
when somebody comes with a problem, I say, okay, how do we solve it? What's the solution? Yeah. You know, rather than keep it coming back again and again. Like you said, keep revisiting the problem. Let's solve it.
Yes. And
but sometimes people like to vent too.
Yeah. But then people, I feel like, want to keep you revisiting that same problem to hold you hostage to it, to me. If that
can be true too sometimes.
And you just want to, like, no, it's like a relationship. It's like, why are we still talking about this? This happened. So for me, when I did this book, I put it all out there in this book, so I don't have to revisit it again. If you bring it up, there's no need for us to go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I've said it, we done with it. Okay, let me go to the next book now. Yes, and that's where the next book is her mirror, herself, her dress, and her handkerchief. And that'll be out.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be out next summer. So it started out with her shoes. I'm owning up to all the foolishness. I was just as guilty as a lot of the counterparts that was included in this. So with that said, let me go ahead on now when I talk about herself and her mirror. Okay, this is how CC is going to fix her life and keep it moving. This part of like promoting the book, promoting the company, coming on your show with the opportunity to be up here. And as you know, I don't know if you saw it, but you probably got a whole lot of emails, girls, because they would come in I promoted a Facebook ad. And look, they would say, "How did you get on this?" And I said, "This is Gwen Richardson 123@gmail."
Okay, that's where it came from. Okay.
I was giving out your email like it was Christmas. I did. And so, because I put the whole, I believe in blessing people, you know what I'm saying? So like, if people good to me, I just feel like the more you bless people, God bless you.
Amen.
And I just feel like that's just where my faith is. And so when you sent me the flyer, I said, you know what? I'm not going to create no different flyer over here. That ain't nobody gonna have money for that. I'm gonna use this flyer, what you sent me, and just promote the ad on Facebook. And so I did it for the last.
That's why we send it to the
Yes,
people that are
yes,
going to be on, so they can promote their appearance on the show.
So
and
I
then
promote.
it shows the array of the different people that you're with on that night. You know, like tonight we had you know, our lineup is always great. I always say that, and I've been saying that from day one. But it's because every single person who's written a book, they have their own individual journey and story, and there are no two ones that are alike. I mean, really, there aren't even two that are that similar. You know, people really have different experiences, and there might be one or two things that maybe overlap, but people, to get people where they are today, they had to go through some things to get there. And if they then wrote a book or wrote books along the way, then they've been through some other things. So book writing is a whole nother part of developing that's different from anything else. You know, because writing a book is very intentional. And it's a solitary process. It's not something you can do with other people. And you have to do it when it's quiet, and but when you're by yourself with your thoughts or whatever. So
thank you.
Congratulations on your book coming out. Now, when I saw the cover, and you know, this might show my disinterest in some things. But I didn't recognize the red bottoms. I've seen them. I don't own a pair. I would never pay that for shoes. But they would have to be on a deep discount for me, like 90% off. But they look good. I see people with them on. They look like they fit like a glove. But I didn't recognize the red bottom.
I have a pair and they hurt.
They hurt.
But the service in a Louboutin store is top tier. You know, they actually put the shoe on. You know how they used to do when they would
they used to. Now you're on your own now.
Yeah, exactly. They actually will put the shoe on your foot. They have to walk around to make sure that the shoe fits your foot right. I enjoyed the service more than I love the shoe. But
well, you know, a lot of times shoes, I don't think men can understand this, but a lot of times the shoes feel okay when you're in the store. You know, you walk around, okay, these will work, and then you get out somewhere where you got to walk across concrete or the parking lot. You got to go upstairs.
You got to strut, girl. You got to strut. You got to own the shoe.
I'm not. Don't get me wrong. The Louboutins I have, I will rock them. They're beautiful shoes. I'm just saying they're not the shoes for you to go take long walks in. That's all.
No. Okay. Well, I don't like to say never, but I think I can unequivocally say you will never see me in a pair of them unless it was a deep discount, like 90%.
I'm going to send Gwen. I'm going to send you a website where you can get some discount Louboutin shoes.
See, this is the thing. This is the thing, Miss Gwen, is that it's like I'm very cheap and frugal. Let me say that, but I would like to have one pair, and that's it.
Okay.
It's like I like Taser. I just want what I want without certain brands. I was raised that way. My grandmother was a brand person, but once I get that, I don't want nothing else. I'm good. Like, so it's not like
it's an individual thing. I don't like people who love them. I think they look gorgeous on people. I just would not spend that on. But I don't like anybody that does, because it's stuff that I spend money on that somebody else will say, what? You're nuts for doing that. So, you know, it's about, and at a certain point, it's what you want. That's, you know.
And you can say you just don't, what they say, indulge in it so much. Especially when they put your life. One of the things is don't put your livelihood in jeopardy.
Don't spend your rent money on it.
Let's put that out there.
Or your mortgage money.
Yes. No,
because that could be the case with the Louboutins.
It depends on the shoe. I mean, my shoe was a little expensive, but I paid my rent that month.
Okay, well,
and it's Christian Louboutin.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
I used to think it was Louboutin, but it's Louboutin.
I knew it was Louboutin, but I don't know if I knew about the Christian part.
Dr. Lawson, what's going to happen is she's going to get this big fluctuation of money coming in. And she's gonna go back. You know what? I might want to just go by Louis Vuitton store just to see. I'm not gonna buy it.
Or Rhonda, not you, because I can think of a whole bunch of things I would do before I would do that.
Look, but you know what? You know that temptation is real. The flesh is weak. Look at it.
My flesh isn't weak on that. I'm not saying my flesh isn't weak. I'm saying it's not weak on that.
You're gonna go in. Look, you're gonna go in.
I would rather take a trip. I would rather take a trip because I would rather go and travel.
Ladies and gentlemen, this interview has gone downhill.
No, we acting like we've been knowing each other for 100 years now.
Yeah, but it's about your book cover and the shoes. That's why and until you said they were red bottom shoes, it didn't hit me. It didn't the cover. I just saw the shoes, the stilettos. But the fact that they were,
and I said, you know what? They read a couple poems, but most of the times when I'm doing a book signing or been on a book signing, they gravitate to the shoes, the book because of the shoes.
If it draws them in, that's good.
Yeah, and then we have T-shirts made with the cover, and people buy the T-shirts. They were like, those shoes. Those shoes are just, so
everything.
It was everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can often be wishful thinking. Let's put that out there.
Well, I hope anyone under the sound of my voice that really wants some, I hope you get them. Or if you don't already have them, I hope they're in your future because I know how that is.
And if you know what, and if you do get them, don't do those obvious poses where it looks really obvious that you're trying to show everybody that you wear.
I've seen that too. I've seen that. I've heard about people painting their shoe bottoms red to pretend like they have Louboutin.
I've seen that.
I think
I've seen it. I actually seen it. I went to a concert at Essence Festival. And this girl walking, and then she did something, and you could see you could see the black, like it was flaking off. And I said, I just like, okay, you tried it. I understand. I feel your pain. You didn't want to pay that $1,000. So you put that.
I respect her for wearing Louboutins or any type of heels to the Essence Festival. She can. I did that one time and said never again.
Okay.
Well, we are at the end of the show, actually. So show your book cover one more time very quickly with the Louboutin shoes, and it's called Her Shoes by C.C. Fann. And it's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you. And this is a great way to end the show.
Thank you.
Really is. Okay. Well, everybody, that's it for this week. And the book festival is imminent. It starts Thursday night with the welcome reception. It's all day Friday, all day Saturday in Houston. If you haven't already planned to come, you're anywhere in the area, we want to see you there. And we won't have a show next week because next Tuesday is Halloween. So we'll see you 2 weeks from now. And I'm signing off. Gwen Richardson. Have a great week. And
I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening, a great week. And if you're in Houston, I'll be wearing my Louboutins so you can see them.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.